What's up everyone, I'm Twisted. The new season cinematic is out and what? Where is my Darkin? Why are we seeing skins? What's going on? Well, don't you worry, we'll be answering that and many other questions in this video. Let's go over all the lore details of the new season cinematic titled Here Tomorrow. But before that, let me just quickly explain what the Spirit Blossom Festival is in Runeterra. The festival is tied to the blossoming of the Spirit Blossom flowers. When this happens, the Ionians can commune with their deceased loved ones, celebrating their peaceful passing into the afterlife or mourning their inability to rest. There are many traditions and rituals, but the most common is to place the flower on top of a tombstone of a deceased loved one. If it blossoms, that means they are at peace and their spirit can inhabit the flower, allowing their loved one to speak with them for a little while. If the flower wilts and nothing happens, the spirit has been corrupted or cannot rest in peace. That's the festival, but there's also the folklore and myths the Ionians believe in. I'll probably make another video explaining this, but keep in mind that the stories and myths do exist in Ionia. But how true they are, we don't know. For example, despite the Ionians believing in the Gatekeeper, that entity might not actually be real. The skins are just representations of the myths, which again might not actually be true. They are just stories. So keep in mind that when I say something is canon, I'm referring to the actual main world of Runeterra, and when I say that something isn't canon, I'm talking about the skins, not what they represent. Alright, enough context, let's dive in. The cinematic starts with the Spirit Blossom flowers, either withered or yet to bloom. Wind blows and they fly off a wall, and then we see the face of who is likely the next new champion. So, while I was working on this video, the devlog for the next season came out, which gave us a bit more context about some stuff present in the cinematic. For example, yes, this is indeed the next champion, and her name is Yunara. We can see where they are, some kind of cliff. They drop a flower that hits the water upside down before we transition into a flower facing up on the surface of the water. I think this is supposed to tell us that the first location we saw is a mirror to the real world, aka the Spirit Realm. This explains why there's water flowing from nowhere and maybe even pieces of land flying. We'll come back to this idea later. As the flower floats downstream, we can spot some statues. These are likely referencing an upcoming skin. This could either be the buds of Spirit Blossom Zyra or the chimes of Spirit Blossom Bard. Oh, and we can spot a fish following the flower. As we too follow it, we see this structure in the background. This is very likely Spirit Blossom Daisy, because right here we can spot Ivern as well. We then see some birds before arriving at the statue of Spirit Blossom Ashe, or at least a statue of the myth that Spirit Blossom Ashe represents. Again, the stories exist in the main universe, but the skins themselves are not canon. The birds we just saw are likely tied to Ashe's skin, as they also show up next to her statue. We then transition into a scene that focuses on Ashe. As we'll see, there are many of these in this cinematic. The setting is even more stylized because this is likely taking place in the Spirit Realm. This will also be the case for the other scenes that focus on skins. All of these skins are not canon, while the rest of the cinematic seems to be. We then come back to the real world, from Ashe's bird to a kite, and then to Xin Zhao. If you notice, Shen is holding his Demacian spear, meaning this is him returning to Ionia. Shen is an Ionian who was taken by Noxians, forced to fight in the arenas and later as a soldier. He then joined the Demacians after they defeated his fellow Noxian soldiers. In time, he and Jarvan III became good friends. When the Mage Rebellion happened, Jarvan sent Shen away on a mission, but when he returned, the king was dead. Now it seems that Shen has returned to Ionia and is attending the Spirit Blossom Festival. This could be because he wishes to commune with the spirit of Jarvan III, or to simply find some closure after his death. That's the whole point of the festival after all. Shen is getting 2 motion comics this season. I'm really excited to see where his story leads. A couple more things to mention here. We know that this has to take place after the Noxian season, mostly because the Spirit Blossoms only began to bloom years after the Noxian invasion ended. This isn't surprising if we assume that the moments from LeBlanc's story were happening at the same time. In one of them, the Noxian troops were leaving Ionia, and in another Shen was in the royal gardens of Demacia. The fact that Shen was in this story was likely teasing him being present in this new season, especially because of the wording used in the story. All of this means that we are seeing a time skip from one season to another. Now, this could be taking place at the same time as the festival in Navori, where Yasuo was reunited with Yone. That was the first festival where the flowers bloomed after the invasion. Or this could simply be another festival happening sometime after that one. Kids pass through Shen, and the flower keeps floating downstream. We can spot the statue of a capybara on the left. We see multiple flowers flowers in this lake, the kite returns and we get a better look at the festival. We see more kites, one with a mask that kinda resembles the lantern of Spirit Blossom Trash, but not quite, and another with some fish. It's possible that these are teasing more skins as well. For example, the fishes could represent Spirit Blossom Varus, in specific Valmar and Kai, or this could just be Aphelios and Elune, it's hard to say for now. Under the water we see a statue of the spirit that Spirit Blossom Nidalee represents. Shen drops a flower into the water. Next to him are banners with the masks of the kindred, and we can even see someone in the background with horns similar to those of Lamb's skin. The flower falls above the eye of the statue of Nidalee, and we get a very nice transition to her scene, which looks super well animated, just like everything in this cinematic really. From Nidalee we jump to Spirit Blossom Lux, the scene turns dark so that Lux can illuminate it, and then back to the real Kennen world where we see Shen just chilling. At least I assume this is Shen. His mask is different and his hair is black for some reason. Were it not for the color scheme of his outfit and the blue in his eyes, I would not assume this was Shen. This is probably a new skin. I'm very curious to know Shen's role in this season, as one of his main abilities is being able to traverse between the mortal and spirit realms. Just like at the start when the wind blew the flowers and caught the attention of the new champion, the same thing happens here. Wind blows and Shen takes notice. We see some kids playing and wearing masks. The bunny mask is referencing Spirit Blossom Evelyn. The kids run past Shen and behind him we can spot the same kites as well as a bunch of masks. Again we see Evelyn's mask, above it seems to be Ari's, and I'm not sure about the rest. These are likely based on new skins. For example Nidalee's, and this is probably Ivern's. In front of the masks is a statue of the gatekeeper and maybe the spear of Nidalee, not sure. Based on the bio of Spirit Blossom Varus, this might actually be the brush of Spirit Blossom Hui. Behind Shen we can also spot Kennen, with the same outfit he has in the promo art of the first upcoming comic. Once again wind blows, petals fly away, guiding Shen's eyes to this mountain. It kinda looks like the mouth of a creature, but as we'll see this can also just be a mountain that lost a huge chunk of it somehow. One of the kids bumps into Shen and falls. Shen smiles before looking deeper into the mask. Here I completely missed how Shen has brand new scars which weren't present in the last time we saw him, after the death of Jarvan III. We transition to Spirit Blossom Morgana and we get the reveal that the kid's mask represents Spirit Blossom Irelia, or again the myth that the skin is based on. We get an epic anime fight, again the animation is gorgeous. As Morgana strikes a pose we return to the mortal realm, to a statue of her myth. We again see the statue of Nidalee, the flower Shen dropped alone in the water, far from the other ones. Shen makes his way to the mountain before we see yet another statue. So far all of the statues have been based on myths of spirits, so when we transition back to the new character and we see that their design matches the one in the statue, we can assume that they are likely some kind of spirit as well, unless this isn't their actual design and just a skin. That could also be the case. And it seems that this is indeed the case. The official league account posted a couple screenshots of the skins on social media with the alt text referring to all of them as Spirit Blossom skins, including the ones of the new character. Now this doesn't mean the skin isn't canon, as Shen's skin is also Spirit Blossom. I think it would be really cool if the skin of the new champion was based on a myth that actually had some truth to it, and that was tied to the champion itself, the same way the skin of Kindred is based on one of the many Ionian interpretations of their legend. At the feet of the statue we can spot some spheres with spikes. These seem to be part of some kind of flail or bola, perhaps a Noxian weapon, I'm not sure, but they seem to be ensnaring her. There's clearly a story here and I can't wait to find out what it is. Once again wind blows, making a dark flower fly toward the camera. We return to Shen looking at the mountain. The path of stairs in front of him is broken, leading nowhere but facing the hole in the mountain. These stairs are likely tied to the ones we saw in the previous scene. Not only does the flower blow from one scene to the other, but the way the camera moves and the transition happens also implies that these are somehow connected. If I'm right about this scene taking place in the spirit realm, Shen might be near a bridge between that realm and the mortal realm. Even the rocks near the stairs have the same designs. And just like at the start, when we saw a flower being used in the transition between this place and the real world, the same thing happens in this transition. These floating broken pieces of land could have been ripped from the mountain itself, transported from one realm to the other. The fact that they have the same stairs that don't lead anywhere also supports this idea. Again, these were likely connected at some point. The flower drops next to Shen. As he is about to pick it up, he notices something, and so does the new character. It's almost like they noticed each other, despite not being in the same place. Again, hinting that these two locations are tied to each other. We can spot a symbol on the forehead of the new character that resembles the one in the Ionian crest. They are also not the first Ionian champion with a symbol on their forehead. And so the cinematic ends. As we saw, Shin's story is moving forward, and he's likely crossing paths with a new champion. And yeah, there's also a bunch of non-canon skins on the way, probably one for Shin and one for Shen as well, and maybe even an update for Shin. That would be cool. Now, I know you might be wondering, where the hell is the Darkin? Well, as I explained in my previous video, the Darkin is likely not in Ionia, but in the spirit realm. As LeBlanc says, Ionia is but a doorway. If I'm right and these stairs were once connected, and now there's some kind of bridge between realms, then maybe the Darkin could be in the giant piece of land that was transported from the mortal realm to the spirit realm. Maybe that was the reason for the land to be taken away, to better hide the weapon. Or maybe the land was moved for another reason, and the Darkin weapon just happened to be there and went with it. But I think the first option is more likely. Overall, I think the land being moved to another realm, and it being the location of the Darkin weapon, is what's being set up here, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Let me know your theories down below. We did get confirmation that the new season will continue the narrative of the previous one, so I really think I'm onto something here. As for the new champion, I was really convinced that they would be the host for the Darkin, but now I'm also not so sure. It's not impossible, but the trailer doesn't really hint at it. With this being said, Riot could be saving that reveal for later. The trailer does hint at some kind of connection between the new champion and Shen, or at least that they'll meet at some point. I'm really excited to see him getting more lore and to learn who this new champion is. Are they dead? Are they a legendary spirit? Are they guarding the Darkin weapon? Will they wield it? I guess we'll have to wait to find out. We do know that they'll be an ADC, which honestly doesn't really fit the concept of a glaive unless they're making yet another melee ADC or being creative with how the weapon is wielded. We do know that Yunara has some kind of connection to the Spirit Blossoms and that she's likely the Shrine Maiden mentioned in the title of the second comic. Perhaps her task is to take care of the flowers and guard the shrine where the Darkin weapon is hidden. It's also possible that Yunara won't be the host of the Darkin, and that instead Riot is saving the latter to be the third and last champion of the year, coming out in the last season. The first season started with a huge teaser for the Darkin, so I wouldn't be surprised if they saved it for last, but we'll have to wait to find out. Oh, and just one more thing before the video ends, since Shin being in this season might have been teased in LeBlanc's story, do you think Syndra is showing up as well? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you like this type of videos, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind later. I'm trying to reach 5k subs this year, so your help would be very much appreciated. I'm Twisted and I'll see you guys in the next video.